Hi, this is your host Sapni Bhartia and welcome to TFI Newsroom. EdgeX Foundry's Hanoi Release is the seventh consecutive semi-annual release, and it has a number of features including simplified deployment, scalability testing, and launch of command line interface. It also incorporates the first collection of new platform-wide microservices API that allows adopters to get a feel of what's coming with EdgeX 2.0. That's the most I know about this release. To dive deeper into the release, we have with us Jim White, chair of EdgeX Foundry TSC, to talk about this release. Jim, first of all, it's great to see you or hear you again after a long time. I think last we talked was last year in September during the hackathon.
Swapnil, it's great to be with you again and with your listeners. And yep, unfortunately, 2020, I think, is a year of lost chances to chat with people. So good to be with you again.
So, as you know, the new release is here. So, tell me a bit about the release. What are the highlights?
Sure. This is, as you mentioned, our seventh release. So we're pretty proud of that in that for 7 consecutive cycles now, we've been able to release pretty much on time. This is a dot release. What that means is that there are a significant number of features, but it should be backward compatible with everything up to what we call our Edinburgh release, which was our 1.0 release. This will be officially 1.3. Things that are coming out with this release include the beginnings of a new API set. So for those who are watching EdgeX, we've had the same API for 3+ years, but there's a new API set on the horizon. And this particular new release has a subset of that, getting ready for our 2.0 release in the spring. Additionally, we're providing the ability for device services to live on a different host and more easily connect to the rest of EdgeX. We've added some new features in terms of support for Kuiper Rules Engine and just simplifying a lot of the things that are there with EdgeX today, things like the deployment and orchestration with new compose files.
Right. And I was saying, last I think when we talked was almost a year ago during the hackathon, where we also saw a lot of, how companies or, organizations were trying to use EdgeX with a lot of other projects. So during, I think it's almost 1 year or more than that. What kind of new use cases you have seen so far? And I'm talking about use cases where it's being used in production, not, evaluation or experimentations.
Yeah, great questions, Swamnil. And that's really where we've paid a lot of attention here over the last 6 months, even for a year. This past summer, we sponsored a set of what we call adopter series presentations. So these are people out in the field actually using EdgeX and putting EdgeX to use in their product sets. And we've seen a number of those, and it's really helped to grow our community. So some of the major ones that came through with some of the adopter series presentations include Thundersoft, which is a company out of China, the big SI. They're using it as part of what they call Thunder Cloud, so an actual IoT edge deployment capability. We've got Accenture, which has made it part of their AIP Plus application. So another big SI focused globally and using EdgeX really to get data into their big data analytics. And then you've got companies like HP. HP has come out with a product they call Engage, which is really using EdgeX at retail point of sale locations for things like loss prevention. So we've seen an explosion in use. We've seen people who are adopting it actually coming forth and saying, hey, here's how we're using it. And what's been great for our community as well is they're also telling us these are some of the features we'd like to see going forward. So they're really helping us to shape the project for the future releases.
Right. Thanks for sharing those use cases. The fact is, Edge is becoming really big. We recently did a whole, prediction videos, and everybody is talking about Edge. But we are not talking just Edge as, Edge devices. We're also talking about Edge data center and all those open source technologies, especially Kubernetes. They are kind of, and 5G is also playing a critical role. So what role do you think is EdgeX Foundry or EdgeX projects going to play in this space?
Yes, Bob. No, the EdgeX has always been and will continue to be edge middleware. And I tell people that to try to simplify it as much as possible, meaning we really sit between the things, the IoT sensors and devices, and whatever lies at the next level up at your enterprise or your cloud layer. So while all these technologies are coming together to try to participate in Edge, what most organizations and what most of those products you just mentioned need is something that really gets down to that lowest layer. And so that's what EdgeX has and will always continue to do, is provide the connectivity tissue between the actual things, the sensors and devices, and whatever you're trying to get that data to. So we're excited about it. We think things like 5G are going to see an explosion, obviously, in the way that people try to incorporate edge into their products and solutions, and that just makes EdgeX all the more relevant.
Right. One more thing is, especially during the hackathon, also we saw was that there is no kind of standalone project. No, in today's world, when we build either a stack or application or infrastructure, we use a mix of different open source projects, to build different pieces. So what projects are there, either within the Linux Foundation or outside the Linux Foundation, that EdgeX relies on or collaborate with, so that users, as you also mentioned, can leverage all these technologies, because they basically care about what they want to deliver to their users.
Yeah, exactly right. And we've really built EdgeX like that from the beginning, which is to say we've built it as a microservice flexible architecture. We've never believed that EdgeX is going to provide everything you need out of the box. We try to provide quite a bit in what we call a reference implementation, but we both leverage a lot of other open source capability and we connect to a lot of other open source technology. A case in point is we've always had a rules engine as part of EdgeX to provide local analytics, but that's not a rules engine we created. We initially came out with Drool's rules engine connectivity, and now we've switched over to use EMQX's Kuiper, which is an open source rules engine being developed out of China, and one that's really easy to use because it's SQL based. At the same time, we are always providing connectivity to things like MQTT brokers, try and provide connectivity to other cloud and backend systems. And at the same time, we're incorporating what we see as best of breed solutions into our product because we don't want to have to create it all. So, for example, the database layer, we use Redis, open source Redis, as a means to provide for persistence at the edge. And we're using things like Redis streams, where people are wanting streaming capability now with EdgeX. So we both use a lot of open source technology and then also incorporate the ability to connect to and incorporate interoperably a lot of technology as well. Collaboration is key to us. I mean, we came in as one of the founding members of LFEdge, and so we believe in a strong community. And I think, as has been alluded to both in the blog posts and what have you, we put some new features in there this time to provide integration points to Fledge project, which is a sister project that is also serving a bit as thin IoT edge middleware. But in addition, we continue to collaborate with Open Horizon, which we incubated underneath EdgeX. We are looking at a new project coming up in 2021 to work with SDO, Open Horizon, kind of providing a full stack edge solution along with EdgeX, obviously, as part of that, and actually coming up with an Acrano blueprint to help define it all. So collaboration is something we do both internal to LF and outside of LF. And one of the things that we kind of, as an open source effort, just kind of take as part of our tenets of behavior in terms of how do you make EdgeX more relevant by making it more interoperable and integrated with other things out there.
We are almost at the end of this year, and this is semi-annual release. What pipeline do you have? What are the things that are there in the pipeline? What roadmap do you have? First of all, it's an open source project, so anybody can go and check. But still, talk about the things that you are looking forward to incorporate in the next releases.
Yeah, we've got a really awesome group, and they've put together a fantastic roadmap. So for 2021, we'll have 2 releases. The first release will come out in the spring, sometime around April, may slip a little bit into May, because this is going to be a big release. This is going to be EdgeX 2.0. So as I mentioned, while we've started working on a new API set, we'll actually finish that API set and make it the API set of views starting with this next release. And that's really going to eliminate a lot of technical debt and provide for a lot of new features, including more messaging in EdgeX going forward. Beyond that, we've got a lot of other features that we're looking at. We're looking at things like the addition of metrics reporting from EdgeX, so you can get a sense of how things are running and what's operating well, what's not operating. We're actually putting a lot of performance and scalability testing in place to really be able to start to offer users guidance about how much and how fast can EdgeX move things. So that's going to be coming up in our next release, the spring release. Beyond that, the release after that will be in the fall. We think that's going to be a relatively small dot release. And really, it's what we're trying to call a stability release. And the idea is once we come out with 2.0, you want a release where things are a little bit tamped down a little bit. You don't have quite as many features so that you can really say that this release is, whether it be EdgeX 2.1 or 2.0.1 or something of that nature, will be a release that people really start to say, this is where long-term support is going to be offered by EdgeX. In fact, that's our hope. It is with the release in the fall, we'll have our very first long-term support release.
Do you have most projects sometimes they have, of course there's one stable release, long term release, even the kernel has, and then there's not unstable but always rolling release kind of where things are moving. Is there something similar to edges also, so that while you can move at your own pace without disrupting the way users are using it? Or is the model is that okay, this is going to be LTS release, will be maintained for 3, 4, 5, 10 years, and the other releases they will keep moving at their own pace?
Yeah, and that's exactly what we do, Swapnil. Similar to a lot of open source communities, we've really taken their lead. We've got some great folks from Canonical that have really helped, describe it and make it understandable to us and the rest of the community about how to do that effectively. So yes, you're exactly right. We haven't had a long-term release yet, a long-term support release yet. For that very reason, we really wanted something that was stable, that could last out there by our own rules, last at least 2 years. And so that's why EdgeX 2.0 is going to be important, and then the LTS release right after that. Beyond that, but we do release every 6 months. And so for those who are looking for the latest features, those who are looking to really stay on the cusp of what EdgeX is doing, every 6 months, here comes a new release, which will really help you kind of get the new features you're looking for and add on to it as you see fit. And then we'll incorporate that into the LTS over time.
Right. One more thing that I wanted to ask you is security. Security is becoming really serious, especially in the use cases that we play with, because sometimes things are outside of your corporate firewall. How important is security for EdgeX Foundry? And then number 2 is that wherever you sit in people's stack, as you explained earlier, do you really need to worry about security at that stage? Or there are other pieces before and after EdgeX Foundry are taking care of it?
Yeah, let me address both questions with the answer of yes. Both are important, right? Both having security in EdgeX is very important, but then also you're going to need to tie in a more cohesive strategic security strategy around your whole deployment and use case. In EdgeX, we've got a fantastic security working group led by Colin Hutchison, who's a member of Kong, so very familiar with things not only at the edge but also the enterprise and how to secure things like API at the entire ecosystem. So we provide means to secure the APIs in EdgeX, and we also provide a secure store. Those are the 2 features that we really put at the heart of our product, but those would be at the heart of many products like this. Beyond that, you have to start to think about a lot of other security concerns, some of which we try to help with within EdgeX. Others, you're going to probably have to start to think about that from your strategy. I know waking up and ending up on the front cover of the Wall Street Journal as something that has been hacked, or an organization that is putting out a non-secure product is what keeps me up most at night. So we're trying to do our best, but this is a difficult problem, just being because the edge is such a different animal compared to what most people are used to. And so that is some of the feature set that we're both incorporating in our products today, but it's certainly part of the larger roadmap as we go forward, is how do we make the edge as secure as possible, at least the data that flows through EdgeX. So stay tuned, and more will happen in that space for sure, as our community is really looking at that.
Jim, thank you so much for your time today. I look forward to talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to see you, at least on video, Swapnil. Hopefully we'll see each other in person soon.